Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Nature Folklore on this Sunday, 12th of February 2023. Well, thank you all for joining me on our weekly time for echoing news, stories, poetry, and art, connecting this to nature folklore, the holy wells, and our precious water, woodlands, and wildlife. So it's hail, whole, and holy good health for you all. And through this edition, we're focusing on. I was going to return more thoughts on winter to spring divination and thinking about trees and hedging as well. But yesterday was St. Gobnut's Day, and I became distracted from preparing for the show, but more about that shortly. As usual, to remind you, this Nature Echoes live and the growing nature folklore video articles and photos library that's all full of adverts, either on the Patreon or the Substack. It's all brought to you due to the kind support of our very kind subscribers. And I'm currently inviting subscribers to Nature Folklore through Substack. And you can actually see that there, the addressing. And that's where I host two tiers. One's free and the other is for support subscribers. And I also hasten to add that I'm still continually building up my video library on Patreon that will continue to serve the Patreon subscribers, just as it always has. But the obvious difference is that Patreon does not have a facility for a free tier. And I can do that with Substack and also put articles on Substack. But Nature Folklore subscribers on Patreon actually receive a complimentary paid subscription on Substack. And that means 2 for 1. And there's a link to subscribers on Nature Folklore on Substack, where you can choose free or paid. And all this helps to keep the show afloat. And there's a very deeply discounted rate on Substack if you pay annually. And you can discount that further if you can actually get some of you together, 2 or more people. The discount goes way down. I think it's 40% discount for an individual. It can go down to 60% discount for a group. And you also get support from me if you wish to join Substack as a writer. And all this goes a long way to keep the show afloat and free of advertising as well. So with that show survival pledge sorted, let's get on with the show. And let's see who the lovely early birds are on the show. Let's see who we can say hello to. There's Elizabeth. Elizabeth Flynn here. Greetings from County Wexford. Delighted to be here. And I'm delighted that you're here as well, Elizabeth. Wonderful. And I see there are a few people about. They just haven't said hello yet, according to the screen there. Well, as I say, yesterday was St. Gobnut's Day. And let's see, I should be getting my pictures going because I was saying this is really what this was supposed to be about today. But St. Gobnut's Day, there she is. And she may not be as well known as Breeder, but as yesterday was still close to the new Breeder, Bridget's Holiday in Ireland, it looked like there was a lot more Gobnut focus and enthusiasm on social media. And I was talking to someone earlier, Donna Johnson, I think it was, and I was saying how Gobnut is very popular in Northern America because Balavorny kind of does their tourism promotion there in the USA and Canada. But outside of that, people don't seem to know. But of course, people have got into the vibe of Bridget, and suddenly Ireland's become aware of Gobnut as well. And I can see there's going to be some campaigning for another holiday to extend also into the Gobnut there. And so to keep the vibe of Breeder going, why not? Reverence to Gobnut. And let's get another. There's a picture there, an artist's impression along with the statue. But I'm not actually going to be doing a show on Gobnut today. But I can tell you some of the key points of her story. And she's said to have been born in County Clare around the same time as Colmcille was born. So there was a Breeder, Bridget, that's about 100 years later. And But due to unhappy family life, Gobnet retreated to the island of Inisheer. Bring some more photos up. There's a lovely herbal garden around the statue there of Balavorni. And I think I've got one. I think that's the next one. There we go. That's apparently that's Keil Gobnet. That's on Inisheer. That's been discarded, and it probably is the original, based on the original abbey or monastic site that Gobnet retreated to. And I suspect she was either a bondswoman there or a domestic apprentice in that community site. And I've mentioned that in the past episodes as well. But the story is an angel is said to have appeared to Gobnet there on Inisheer and served her a vision to return to the mainland and then keep on travelling until she sees a place where she would see 9 deer grazing. And in fact, she travelled around, and yes, she did find 9 deer, and there were 9 white deer grazing, and that's where she decided she would stop and settle. And there's the picture there. There's an artist's impression. I think that's actually on cloth somewhere. It's in a museum. I can't remember where. It's supposed to be of the 9 deer, but I counted it before the show, and there's 8 there. Anyway, it gives us a bit of an artist's impression. We can't complain about that. So it was at Balavorni there. There's a semi-protected oak woodland there. Let's bring that up. That's what I got in the background, isn't it? And this is supposed to be the place. This is said to be the place where Gobnet actually spotted the deer. And the woodland, this woodland is said to be protected by the National Parks and Wildlife Service in Ireland. But for a few years now, there's been quite a scuffle to build a bypass to actually go through the woods. And unfortunately, I think the bypass is either just opened or about to open, so the bypass won. But there's still plenty of woodland. But it's a shame because you're going to get the bypass sounds, I would think. But anyway, Balavorni itself, I believe, I haven't got any pictures of the Balavorni in its own right, but it's said to, well, the tourism is translated as being a town for, now see if I can get this right. It's a town is translated, sorry, I got that throat again. Balavorni is said to translate as a town of the beloved, but I think it's more likely to mean a town of love of those who have passed on. I'll bring this picture again, I think. Sorry, I wouldn't be able to speak much longer the way that was. And somehow this is related to Gobnet's belief because it's told in story that our souls depart from our body as bees. Unlike Breda, who is said to have founded her own monastery, it was Gobnet's brother Abban that kind of set up the monastery for in Balavorni. I think I've got another picture I want to show you. There you go. That I think that's an interesting. We're going to be talking about bees. If you say Gobnet, it's all about bees and hives and honey, and I think there's some lovely facts there. That bee lives less than 40 days, visits at least 1,000 flowers, produces less than a teaspoon of honey, and used only a teaspoon of honey, and that's a bee's life. And now I'm going to be thinking that every time I put a spoon of honey on the porridge in the morning, there goes a bee. It's quite a thought. Just one of those amazing things about bees. Anyway, so in Balavorni, I get back to myself there. She founded the monastery, and it was Balavorni, I gather. She lived her life, and that's where she practiced from. And despite the monastery remains at Balavorni showing evidence of extensive smithing and metal work, I wonder if that was down to her brother. Certainly some of the men, although smithing, as you know, from Breda and Bridget, it was done by the women considerably. Gobnet's own mission and legacy was all about bees and beehives. And from these, the lovely stories of her nourishing, healing and protecting people. And there's a popular pattern. It was yesterday. It's a pattern day yesterday, 11th of February. And let's see if I get a picture up for that. There we go. Oh, no, that's an Yeah, that's an intriguing one there. That's actually in the Oak Woods as well, just outside of Ballyvorney. And that's Abans. That's Abans well. I don't see a well there. I see a Bolon stone. You see that stone with a hole in it. Uh, in a lot of places where there's not a well, the rain collects up in the Balorn. And those Balorn wells, they still call them holy wells. People go to them to wipe their eyes and also uh, their arms. They're said to be very much wart cures. The Balorn wells will collect the rainwater, very popular for warts. Anyway, as I say, pattern 11th of February. Let's see what I got there. There we go. There's the priests and their fellas all lined up, ready for the off. And lots of people turn up on the 11th. Yesterday was a nice day to celebrate St. Gobnut and also the Gobnut Well. There's a Gobnut Well in that area, and I'm going to see if I got some sort. There it is. That's actually a lovely picture provided by the Cork and Kerry Wells people, or the woman, and hopefully I'll have a chat with her in the near future. So we'll have that here on Nature Echoes. A beautiful photo there. But that's a lovely wider picture of the area that people visit. And you notice the deers, there's representation of the deers there on the gates as you go in and also on the backs of the seats. So that's lovely. There's other Gobnut wells in the area, but I don't have any pictures of those. But apparently this year they had an additional celebration after the mass and so forth. There was a gathering of Gobnuts. And it was a gathering for women of all ages with the name Gobnut. And I do have a photo of that, I believe. There they are. This is actually from the Irish Examiner, who were present there. And so there's a bunch of Gobnut women there. And I don't know who said it. There was a woman who was present there, and she said the meeting was more like not a meeting of Gobnuts, but a meeting of cats. Now, it was a woman who actually said that. So I don't know if that means there was a bit of keening happening there. But that was the only review I've seen of that day. Now, I did write an extensive article on bees and Gobnut way back in 2005. And from a Google search yesterday, I actually found an article, a version of that article that was published in 2015. I don't remember posting it myself. I'm wondering if it was actually shared on that site. It was a site with a lot of adverts anyway. And because it was chronically smothered in adverts, I found it's barely readable. I can't stand these websites that the moment you start reading a sentence, boom, up pops an advert, and you just can't get into the flow of what's said. So spontaneously, I ended up, instead of preparing for the show, I rewrote the article to add to my Substack collection. And altogether, there was over 6,000 words. So first of all, I had to take away about 1,000 words, chop them off, and then split the rest, what was left over, about 5,000 words, into 4 articles. And there they are. They're all on my Substack there for the subscribers, all free of adverts. And that's my weekly Substack offering for subscribers this week. Normally at 6 o'clock after the show, that's when I put this up. I thought, I put them up yesterday because that's Gobnut's Day. Anyway, I'm still going to try and get something else up at 6 o'clock, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But what they are in that Gobnut series, there's 4 articles about bees and beehives, and they all serve a wonderful reference, and it kind of goes into some very deep ancient history that leads up to the wonderful stories of some good Gobnut. And people have been discussing that with me since, because there's a lot of references to Mesopotamia and Egypt, a lot of and then references. I don't think I mentioned Deborah, but we've been in conversations about Deborah. Deborah's the bee goddess over in Egypt, and there's a lot of parallel views on Deborah and Gobnut. In fact, in Ireland, I've heard some people call St. Gobnut St. Deborah. So there's a crossover in names and understanding there. There's a lot of ancient history in those articles. What am I looking for here? This is going to show the picture. That's symbol of a bee goddess. That's an Egyptian one, which I think is lovely. So I've covered stories of the possible origin and reverences of the bee goddess from around the ancient world. And I also describe bees and bull connection. That I think you'll find very surprising. Next picture. No, that's a lovely one, I think, representing a medieval picture of beekeeping. But this one, see if I can remember what the picture's actually called. Judith, I believe that was painted by Judith Shaw. And she had an article, I think it's called something like "Do Bees Begot Bulls?" And it was in a feminist magazine. I think it might be in feminist.com, something like that. But the ancient belief was that bees actually are born out of the heads of bulls. And it's amazing. I won't have time today to go into that and probably bring that out in future articles. That mythology actually exists in Ireland in various ways, even the stories of Crom Dove. It comes into that. And so when we get to the first harvest, I might come back to this again then. Certainly relates to some of the imagery at the Grange Circle in County Limerick. So anyway, I also include the incredible dancing language of bees. I think you'll like that in the article of how the bees communicate with each other with dancing, and they're very, very accurate. There's a diagram or two on the bees. Fantastic how they do the dance. And also there's a connection of bees to labyrinths and labyrinth mythologies. I go into that in the articles as well. Mead making, Donna Johnson, who's a regular viewer, either live or later. She's it's quite amazing. She's quite into mead making, honey, and labyrinth. So we've been talking a lot about Gobner because she's like a Gobner in the making, I think. She also has cats, loves the cats. Also in the articles, I go into how harps translate into bee speak and how Queen Maeve stories may actually be bee stories. So all of that or more is on my 4 articles I put up on Substack if you're not a subscriber already. So let's see, I haven't been chatting to you for a while. There's been people that have turned up and watching. Who we got? We've got Maverick Mustang manuscripts. Read them yesterday. Very good they were. Well worth reading. Thank you very much for your interest there. And there's Amy Dixon here saying hello. And Claire Roach, she's here. Lovely Claire. The lovely Claire's here. Lovely hears the marvelous stories, John. And there's another one here by the Maverick Mustang manuscripts. Lovely. It's lovely to have you along. Wonderful. Great that you're here. Fascinating subject, says Amy, to be sure. Well, let's see if I can get something more equally fascinating to talk about. Ogham Divination. That's what I'm moving on to. And I was going to talk a lot more about that. I had good intentions of posting some of my own divination series on Substack after this show this evening. I might get the first chapter up again. It's the same thing that's happened with this. Let's see. I've got, what's that picture? Oh, yeah. I talked about mead. I must show you this one. This is Donna Johnson's homemade mead. There we go. And I think we've shown that before during an interview with her, but definitely related to the honey. Anyway, Ogham Divination. Obviously becoming trees and twigs. I just think that's a lovely picture. But again, there's so much content. I thought, okay, Ogham Divination. I'm perhaps put a 1,500 word article up. No, here we go. We've got 8,000 words. So I'm going to end up with 6, maybe 7 chapter articles. And of course, I want to post them all. Plus, I want to put a couple of articles about the she, and I want to get this all up for you by February, because through March, I'm going to trying to free up time for articles on trees and woodlands that's away from the Ogham. And then in April, I'll move on to focusing on permaculture themed subjects that will be folklore that's applied to very practical deeds. I didn't label my pictures properly, so I'm trying to see what that's going to be my next subject, which is fascinating. Anyway, but thinking of bees and pollinating, and you saw the woman there, she's Kate Burrows of West Country Willows, lives in County Mayo by a beautiful loch, and she's really on a big roll at the moment with both her basket making and the teaching of basket making. And she's come to quite sizable contracts that demand a lot of willow canes. And so she's got a highly energetic and creative husband, Alan. So Alan, along with Kate herself, they've been planting out hundreds of cuttings. So there they are. They got some work they've just done throughout their land to try and have the needed willow supply for the many jobs they've got coming up. They've got a lot of willow jobs. The willow business has really taken off for them. So I assume this probably does mean a wind up of their Happy Jack's farm shop, but that's what I'm going to come up. But they'll make sure they'll have plenty of homegrown food for themselves, I'm sure, and for the wee Kayleys and get-togethers they have, the gatherings for family and friends. Very generous with that. But what I hoped was, I don't seem to have it on board. Yeah, there it is. Here's Kate's classes. There's a meme showing the up-and-coming basket-making classes by Kate, which I think are wonderful. She has upped the price a little bit, but she had to because it was ridiculous for what she provides. And most of her classes fill up fast, so get on a mailing list if they fill up. There's probably one or two places in each of these dates, but if you're in Ireland, visiting Ireland, worth joining in, because Kate is wonderful to be in the company of. And their pricing is very fair, really, because what you do, you get to learn to make a basket and you get to take it home. And the lovely thing is, I noticed that Kate truly guides her students so well that everyone, no matter how lack of confidence they might have, first timers and so forth, they end up with a sturdy basket that they're very proud of making, and they can take it home and show it off because it's my work and it's never a load of rubbish. Anyway, I was talking about how do I connect bees and willow. Let's go back to this previous lovely picture of a bee there on the catkin. It's very close up there. I got that from Dreamtime Photo Agency. Lovely close-up of a bee getting the pollen out of a willow. And the reason I think that's pretty important is there's at this time of year, there's always several memes on Facebook, Instagram, etc. They remind us to be kind with dandelions because it said that they're the first source of nectar for the bees. But actually, it's the tiny blossoms is another one. Tiny blossoms here within the willow catkins. They are the earliest source for the bees. But I'll talk more about that during the Ogham Divination articles that I will start posting tonight, hopefully, and over the coming week. But bees and willows at this time, they're also very good for helping us to pay attention to the parts that we can personally play in pollination. It reminds us how important it is. And there's much that we can actually do with willow and other plants, as you can see from what Kate and Alan, you can just cut up the willow twigs, put them in, and they're amazing. For those of you who visited Carracrory and the Tree Labyrinth, and you can do some amazing weaving with them, build beautiful hedges, and it actually grows very quickly. So you can actually see results from your work. And they drain the land. If you've got boggy land, they do an amazing draining job. And so you've got dry paths and so forth, but fantastic for the pollination, fantastic for the bees. Anyway, I might talk more about that pollination on later Nature Echo shows. But as I say, I'm going to post a series of Ogham Divination articles, and hopefully they're starting that soon. And also to get into the vibe of that, I'm going to do an encore. Yeah, here's an encore of something I got lined up for you. I've forgotten all about this. I had this lined up in the background, And since I'm in Ogham Divination mode, why not? Let's get this up. It has actually lost itself. I hope. Sorry, I'll go with the comments because I've lost the video. It's actually, I haven't lost the video. It's the controls have suddenly gone off on my template here. Hello, Dame Anne-Marie Delmont here. Who's lovely to see you. There she is. She's coming and going. Fabulous. Lovely to have you along, Anne-Marie. Fantastic. So I'll look for this. This is I played this last year. It's an encore of Ogham Divination song by Cliff Carr, who I've not featured him on this show for a few weeks, and I think I got a bit of brain fog because I can never remember whether this is the Graves or the Gardner version. I think he's referring to the Gardner and Wicker, who take 13 of the Ogham and throw them into some weird annual divination. Is trying to sort of compete with astrology, I think, and I think I'm right. It's Graves who takes the whole lot and splits the year up. Anyway, that aside, I still love Cliff Carr's song. It doesn't take up the full screen, so in order to make it, we can have it with the nice. It'll fill up and we'll see the tree. So this is Cliff Carr on his Ogham song. So let's get this going.
13 moons for 13 trees, the Ogham of the wood. For one to be oak wise, understand the word druid. Another year has dawned, and bardic challenge reborn. The trees have had their sleeping slumber, it's time for their return. Beth, she stands white and elegant, the lady of the woods. The wolf and her reflecting light shown the way for new beginnings. The fires from luge that welcome change, the light that climbs the sky. The whispering tree and protector bee, even cards from her are named. Chaste moons, pure and virginal, ash is known as neon. A riddle of serpents and one of magic, one with the unicorn. The seed that grows above and below, fair and takes centre stage. The strength that's held within his roots, when cut like blood will bleed. Fern gives way to Salye, who protects us from the storm. Whispering words of enchantment as the May Queen dawns. Some say, away with the fae, at this time of fertility and love. Around the maypole with dance and chant, the dawning of fire and hawthorn. The mighty Dur stands strong and broad, and the coming of the Dryad. His presence overpowers these, he is of knowledge, strong and wise. Tin may be a winter wood, wins battle with Dur at this time. The blessing moon and battle scene, the trees face a change in life. As autumn falls, Call her seeds she gives, the seed for knowledge and sustenance, divination and poetic justice. Harvest moon and time to reap, new and fruits all laid out. The joy, merriment, prosperity, equally ridding one's doubts. Entangled around the trunk, Luna's reflection in bloom. As the blood moon reveals herself, the hunters blow their horns. Protection that comes from Yettle, Beth moon of darker times. Flutes are made and music's played, this time of spiritual desire. Moon of Dur and tree of Ruse, the battle with Tim once again. At this time of winter mid-wonder, the circle of life engrained. 13 moons, the 13 trees, the Ogham of the wood. For one to be oak-wise, understand the word druid.
And so off goes Cliff on a wee jam. That's lovely to get that back again, an encore of that. And of course, we didn't get him live. So the one thing, if my mouse had let me get to it, let's see. There's the man himself on his banjo. That's Cliff Carr there. It looks like he's in the middle of Avery performing on that one. Anyway, move on with the show since because I'm going into overtime. I'd like to talk a bit about two lively pre-recorded interviews that I did this week. And one was the lovely founder and curators of the Ardagh Heritage. Let's see if I can get this on. Is that it? Yeah, there we go. And that's the Ardagh Heritage and Creativity Centre in Ardagh, County Longford. And Ardagh is very much within the St. Breda, the St. Bridget's story, due to the time her and the sister settled there on their journey from Fort to Kildare. But Ardagh is a very pretty, very unique kind of village, I think, for Ireland. And I shouldn't say it, but it could be like somewhere it's very old world and very unspoiled. If you can, if they still exist, old world unspoiled parts of the Cotswolds, Herefordshire, Cheshire, those places. It kind of reminds me of that. But the stories, the ancient stories that are located at Ardagh and nearby, they're mighty, but they're not really told that much. But the founders and storytellers of the Ardagh Centre, and here they are, the lovely Anne Garrity Smith there on the left and Annette Corkery on the right. They've got a beautiful, intense passion with what they do. And most of their work is now out and about around schools. And they don't only tell the stories. I've seen them in action. They act them out. They remind me when I was a young lad and acting out the stories with my friends. And that's what they do in the schools, and the kids get involved in it. Absolutely wonderful. And what they do. And that's actually in the centre. They've got the children coming around with their mothers in the centre. It looks like a bit of face painting before they get into a bit of drama and play acting. But anyway, the Anne and Annette are coming out with a beautiful book. That's it, The Ancient Ways. And this is really them. I saw it. It's full of multiple photos. Absolutely fabulous. It's called Longford's Ancient Ways, and you can pre-order it now. There's the address there, and I'm going to post that on this as a link after the show in the comments as well. And these are actually Anne and Annette's own stories. That was us together as such, and it's how they tell them, and also what they tell is verified by the research as well. But they have their lovely way of telling these stories, lots of fun. And also Annette, let's get the picture back. Annette, the one on the left, wonderful illustrator and artist. And so you got the addition of her art and illustrations inside that project as well. And they've also included the local biodiversity. So in their stories, they bring in the biodiversity, the land care, the water, the woods, the flowers, the insects, the animals. So it's all very nature folklore, what they do too. So I look forward to sharing our interview that we had. I'll be having it on Nature Echoes here in about 2 or 3 weeks' time. As I say, I'll post a link after the show where you can order the book. Now, the other interview recorded was with the wonderful the Druid's Garden author, Dana O'Driscoll. And there she is there on a bit of a fungi hunt there. Very popular, always a popular guest on the shows when she's on. I think the last time she was on was nearly a year ago, where Dana talked about her new book then. It was Sacred... what we did... I'll get this right now. What we chat about was her new book. She's releasing a book called Sacred Actions Journal. And this, that's the cover of it. And this is a lovely workbook. It's a workbook companion to Dana's Sacred Action book that we talked about last year. See, slight difference in cover, because what happened, you see, it's award-winning already. It's sold incredibly well. So the publishers actually suggested to Dana, this is an absolutely wonderful book. How about, they suggested, bringing out a workbook to accompany this book. And in her workbook, there are, there's lined pages for you to actually do your journal. Anyway, that'll all come up in the interview. I look forward to that. That's going to be sooner. That's actually going to be on Nature Echoes. It's going to take up pretty much all of Nature Echoes next Sunday. So well worth tuning in for that. And during our Bridget and Imbolc session, something I won't have time for. I've got something I'll have to come up later as well. So I think I better get back to, let's see what you're actually saying. There's Claire here. Claire, what's she got? Gifted Cliff, the photos make the songs so vivid. And going back to the Cape Burrows as well. Thank you, Claire. And we have Elizabeth saying, couldn't recommend Kate Burrows and a skillful classes more. Definitely company with. As Anne-Marie, divination in Downing, definitely an interesting subject. Not really featuring that on Nature Echoes, because the idea of Nature Echoes now is actually, as it's named, Echoes, is to echo news of what's going on and what's coming up, and there's the odd interview. So I'm just putting all the stuff into the Substack that's or onto the Patreon. That used to be on the Nature Folklore, transferring it all to that. So this is why this is sort of more like a newsreel kind of. That's what I've changed to on this anyway. Right. Just talking on that, the Nature Echoes Live, Nature Echo, Nature Folklore video and articles library, the Holy Wells Revival, all the Nature Sanctuary support, all brought to you by the kind support of our subscribers. Substack link, if I can, there it is, bring it up again. It's slowly growing with content for the subscriber members. And it's totally free from adverts. And there's 2 tiers. One's free. And I'd love you just to sign up for that, just to stay in contact if it's not the right time to engage in the sponsorship subscription. And so it means, as I say, the second tier is sponsorship. And for the people that sponsor, I try and add more videos, more content, obviously, than on the free. But there's a deep discount around 40% if you pay the annual subscription, which is actually not that much money. And but thank you, because you pay your sponsor subscriptions. They go a long way and keep the show afloat, which is fantastic. So coming up next Sunday, as I said, is the interesting conversation I had with Dana O'Driscoll about her journal book. So I do highly recommend, because she's such a fabulous speaker. It's what she does a lot of her life. She's got a small holding, a home farm with geese and vegetables and so forth. A lot of permaculture. She's got the incredible Druid School blog. She's a very prolific artist. Wonderful illustrations, wonderful card decks, wonderful illustrator. She kind of reminds me of being a modern day Beatrix Potter in many ways. But she's also, I don't know how she finds time for it all. She is a professor, and she with languages and literature at in Pennsylvania and University there. How she has time for that, I don't know. But anyway, you get to see the workbook Journal for Sacred Actions. Any questions or comments from you before I wind this up? It's Kate. Yeah, she's joined in. Yes, we featured you a bit earlier, and the West Country willows, Kate, and a few pictures of your planting out of the willows, and obviously of your workshops coming up for people to respond to them. So it's lovely that you popped by. Fantastic. Right. Anyone else? Have I missed anybody? Any comments here? Just winding things up. I think we've done pretty well with here. I've really enjoyed being with you again to share Nature Echoes, a little bit of what's going on. And thank you to having a bit of contribution from Cliff Carr in his absence. And if you're watching this as an archive, the replay, keep posting your comments and questions, because I do check up from time to time to see how I can help you out with that. And also, if you're watching, is anybody? Yeah, I think it's only Claire's through the YouTube today. We sometimes get a lot of people through the YouTube, and I haven't done that much promotion through the YouTube channel people this week. But if you click the bell icon on YouTube, you get reminded of the next Nature Echoes. So I wish you no more comments have come up. So I've gone over the half hour again because of the extras. I hope you enjoyed that. I wish you a safe week full of wonder, inspirations, all the enchantments that comes from being in the presence of water, woods, and all those lovely mysteries of nature. And my screen is disappearing, which is what happened to me at this time last week. Try and get it back again. So anyway, As I say, we're wishing you a wonderful week, enchanted week. Let the senses roll out, because we've got not a bad forecast here in Ireland. I hope it's improved with you. I know it's after the rough weather you've had in the USA. You're getting beautiful days now. So, there's someone saying something before I go. Amy Dixon, thank you. And Elizabeth, no bother. Kate, of course not. That was just a perfect comment. So until next Sunday, play well, everybody. And that's all I've got for you today. I think that's all the echoes I've got. So have a lovely week, and we'll see you next Sunday.